All right, so echo. We're in a special room today because I had to do, and I did a, oh, look at us. We look like we're in like a mafia room.
Portiquet. Yeah,
Look at how dark it is.
Yeah. It's scary. Like
There were 20 people in this room before Pops, teaching a course. So normally I would not promote this, but keep a lookout for my Infinite Path coaching and consulting courses that will be opened up to all realtors in the next couple of weeks. Actually, I'm doing courses for our Urban Nest agents, but I have had a lot of feedback from outside agents that want to be a part of it. So these are paid courses, 8-week courses. So that will be an opportunity. If you're super happy at your company, but you want to learn from me, you can have the best of both worlds. So I wasn't planning on saying that, but
It's all good. What episode number are we?
119, the Dave and Dave show.
My weight.
Yeah. You were definitely 119 pounds. So last week was a little crazy, or excuse me, 2 weeks ago. We took a break last week. 2 weeks ago was your birthday, and it was chaos.
It was 2 weeks
Insanity.
ago because it's my brother's birthday today. And for 2 weeks, we are the same age, and we are Irish twins.
Irish twins, nice.
But as of today, he's a year over.
All right, I want to see what the comments are. I'm going to speed this up. I want to add energy. So we're going to do some updates today because you're on the legislative team.
I am the legislative chair, sir.
So a lot of people listen. The crazy thing about the National Association of Realtors and the Nevada Association of Realtors and the Las Vegas Association of Realtors is that there's so many acronyms and there's RPAC and YPN and blah, 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 blah. And no one knows what the hell this stuff
Never
means.
pack.
Which is just some dumb names. The reality is this.
Or pack.
Yeah, there's a lot of these. Yeah.
Political Action Committee. And then it surrounds where it is.
Yeah, they're basically graveyards. So the legislative committee
Is not a pack.
So you want to explain how this works? So basically, the association is a lobbying group. It's one of the strongest. They're bipartisan. One of the strongest things that these associations do. And at each level, there's these legislative groups. So realtors donate money, and then these bodies, these groups of people, decide with consultation from outside sources on which not only candidates but measures and things like that benefit homeowners, the real estate industry, and the agents the best. So they're protectors of property rights. It's politics. A lot of it gets bullshit. I mean, some of the stuff makes you want to take a couple of showers, but that's why we got him on there. The eternal optimist has done so many great things there, and you've done it all. You've been the president of local, president of state, the regional vice president. I mean, other than being the president of the National Association of Realtors, you've done it all. So here you are as a legislative chair.
Yes.
Which means, you run the agenda and off you go. So there's a couple of wins.
Couple of big wins.
For
the realtor, we have a form SRPD, which we're all familiar with, and we had a group of attorneys that were suing the realtors saying, you didn't fill it out wrong, you're liable for the mistakes, and any realtor knows that we don't touch the SRP anyway. So these attorneys that were just looking for a money grab, it is now that the realtor is not responsible for the SRPD, a big win for the realtor.
So let me translate now, because he speaks in snippets.
Foreign tongue.
An SRPD is a seller's real property disclosure. It's one of the few real estate division disclosures that are required on transactions. The Las Vegas Association of Realtors, they come up with other forms that we all agree to use together. This is a state form. And the way it's supposed to work is that the realtor hands it to the seller, and the seller fills out what the best of their knowledge, have you had any issues with
Plumbing,
exactly,
heating, Yeah.
You're not supposed to fill it out if you're the realtor, but you can assist. There's some things.
Yes, you're allowed to say, is it in an HOA? And a lot of people just go down, no, 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 no. Excuse me, you live in Summerlin, you're in an HOA.
Yeah.
So we're allowed to explain that, but condition.
But here's
no.
the thing. So if Jimmy is the seller of the house and he lies on something, the realtor, if I'm representing Jimmy, I shouldn't be responsible for Jimmy's lie because I don't know.
Exactly right.
And that's a huge win. And here's the thing, there's a lot of people out here that share this information. I watch Facebook, I watch Instagram, I watch all YouTube information, and I don't mind people perpetrating a fraud. We're all realtors, we're all in it together. But you got some balls if you're actually saying it's a big win for the industry and coming off like you've done something about it when you've actually done nothing. So, I mean, I live in abundance, and maybe that's a scarcity comment, but it's a little frustrating when people are Monday morning quarterbacks. They're the first ones to say when realtor associations do something wrong, but when they do something right, they try to present it like they were part of it.
And in the presentation that people are doing, nowhere are they saying kudos to the legislative committee on our state PAC.
And there's some great people on that legislative committee.
There is brilliance on that legislative
And
committee.
like, who are some of the people on there? I know.
Azim Jessa, Vandana Bala, Keith Lyman, the President Association, Brad Spires. You're talking about on the commercial end, Bobby Miracle. You were talking about
Yeah.
a plethora of it.
And these are the people who do the unsexy work. Like this association work is sitting in rooms like this. It's slogging through an agenda. It's thankless work in a lot of cases. So
and you have to read every single bill.
every single bill.
Sometimes in a course of a week, we were probably putting 12 solid hours every week to reading the bills and then having the legislative meetings. And then myself and Brad and Tom Blanchard and Vandana and Azim all testified
Yep.
through Zoom, and you have to sit there through the whole thing to testify. So you're talking about hours and hours of dedicated
So I'm not trying to be a hater. I just want to give credit where credit is due. And a lot of these people just do the work and they put their head down and they're not like waving their flag looking for acknowledgement. So thank you to those people out there, because these are the wins that matter. This is the protection. And listen, this is why you don't want to do a FSBO, a forced sale by owner. If you're listing a house by yourself and you don't know this expert stuff and you don't know that it is required for the seller to disclose the history of the home, it's like a Carfax, right? The history of the home and what has happened, you're going into this situation blind, right?
Yeah.
So
that's a big realtor win because we no longer be sued. Now, let's talk about a win for the public.
Go for it.
So what happened was the landlords, if you're in a rental, you had rental assistance through all these programs that you had to apply through our government that would basically pay your rent or not help you not pay your rent. Now,
So that was the moratorium, right?
on eviction, yes. So now we got a bill passed that the fund of $5 million
For the state of Nevada,
will pay you back
for the landlord.
100% of your rent for the time of COVID there.
So everyone's winning here. The tenant that was in a bad spot can prove that they weren't making money. The landlord can be made whole, which they had to take it on the chin because they weren't, especially for the mom and pop landlord. That really
It only
got
refers
crushed.
to it's only mom and pop.
Well, how do you know the difference? And that-
Because,
what?
no, if you own an apartment building and you go in with 100 units that didn't pay, you're not eligible. It's
Got it.
only for the mom and pop that own 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 rentals that they didn't get the money. Now, they put their mortgage, they didn't pay it, right?
Yep.
So now what's happening is, as long as the tenant is still in the house, there's requirements, the tenant has to still be in the house, you have to keep the tenant 3 months more.
Yep.
Because evictions,
So if people, you can make the decision and say, I don't want the money as a landlord and instead I'm going to evict the person, everyone moves
Right,
on. The
right
tenant got
now.
away with not paying, the landlord doesn't get the money, no one. Hold on one second. Are we good? Are we all right? Okay. Technical difficulties, my
Uh-oh.
friends. But you know what? We're not bougie, so we're going to actually have the conversation with you while we're having some changes. Our wonderful marketing coordinator is fixing
Thank
us
you.
up. So that's good. So what do you think's going to happen? So if I'm a landlord, I'm a mom and pop, I'm getting made whole, the tenant is able to stay, everybody's winning.
That's a win-win. And again.
But the government's still paying, which we pay the government, so we really
It
are
is
all
from-
in it together.
It's not from the state, it's from the federal government money through the Biden, as someone calls them, Biden bucks. Our share of that is where that money was sent to. Now, when the 5 million is out, they have the decision to
Whether or not,
refund it, put the money back in, resupply it, or to stop it, in which case by then, and we're waiting to see.
so it's kind of like what we've done for the last 15 to 18 months, right? You had unemployment insurance extended and raised. You had moratoriums and forbearances. You had stimulus money, PPP money,
Yeah.
right? So you're gonna have people who are really in need who are gonna get helped out, and then you're gonna have people who work the system, right?
And a lot of people say, oh, you're a landlord, so you don't need the money. But you saw, how many houses did I buy when I first started out? And I
Wow.
took loans to buy the house. And
It's a heavy lift for a lot of small
time,
people.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's a tough game, and listen, it's tough to talk about legislative and these things without getting into the political game. What I believe we need are true leaders who are willing to take a stand, right? And we're just so polarized, which is a shame, because the reality is people need help, but they also need motivation, right? So the pendulum swings back and forth all the time. Maybe we don't have enough aid in some instances and too much in other instances. We overcorrect, we undercorrect. But as long as the intent is right, and hopefully there's some intelligence behind it, off we go.
A lot of times, because I got to sit as the chair in discussion, the legislators don't understand real estate. But we were very fortunate this year to have Mo Dennis, who's a realtor. Haiti Kasama has performed brilliantly as a realtor. And Sandra Hadagi is a rep for WFG. Those three people are intricate knowledge of real estate, and they really helped us bring forward our stuff. So we were very lucky.
All right, so we're having some issues here.
Uh-oh. So it isn't me, since my mic is good, I'll start singing for everybody and scare the audience away.
Coming from
Sing us a song on the piano. What's the matter?
basically, so this is why you just go. The beauties of live video. But I will tell you, the beauty of live video is we did have Keith doesn't want to admit that he is watching it, so he said just scrolling through Facebook, love catching the Dave and Dave live, and Dave, you were an excellent chairman for our realtor family. Keith will appreciate this if he's still scrolling through. He was past president while I was president-elect. Keith has a big personality, a super intelligent man, and I jokingly call him a 50.
Totally for the people, he's not political.
And that's the thing. I would call him 50-50. I'm busting your balls, Keith. I call him 50-50 because 50% of the time I'd agree with him and 50% of the time I wouldn't agree. But in a legislative group where it's very difficult to separate your personal political views from what's best for the group, I can say this. Keith is one of the most, I don't know if he still is, but I'm assuming, one of the most fair bipartisan people. And he'll go to the mattress
and he is
passionately, and
yeah.
he'll fight for what he believes in. and it's not all Republican, it's not all Democrat.
No.
And we need more people like him.
Well, let me give you
in
the
this
good
group.
news. He's the chair starting January 1st for 2 years. So
Good.
he will go in next year preparing and the following year with legislative. Highly intelligent, highly fair, well versed in that position.
You gotta be careful, because a lot of these rooms become echo chambers, and a lot of people don't want to rock the boat. You know, when I was on there, I'd get a little frustrated because I was in the minority a lot, and I would be like, you gotta have some pride, integrity in your decision. You know, and to give you an example, you'll have Carrera, Nevada, which is in Rocky Finsip, an amazing company and consulting, and they'll give you the numbers like, this person has been a friend of the realtors and they have an amazing track record.
But now you're going on a little off the legislative onto the RPAC. But go
Right,
ahead.
but
Go
it's
ahead.
part of,
Yeah, it is
is he
part.
not involved?
Yeah,
He's involved in
both.
legislative,
Yeah.
right? And
Oh, he runs them.
of course,
Him and Jenny.
so I'm not
run
going
it.
off of it.
No,
He-
I mean, but it's a different side of it.
But he's still giving you the information, because, right, of how, what bills, and, you know, you gotta have consultants and understand
Oh,
the
he
game.
does exactly
Right?
that, yeah.
So, and the information they're giving you may not be what you want to hear. You may want to vote, or your personal thing may be different. And it's a tough, heavy lift sometimes to be like, well, when we're in this room, we're wearing realtor hats. So if we're going to agree to back something or not back something, we have to keep our realtor hats, which is integrity, code of ethics, what's homeowners' rights. And sometimes people don't do that. Now, I used to tell people, you know, when you give $1 to a group like RPAC or CORPAC or whatever, legislative, I don't know half the shit, but when you give $1, 50% of that dollar is going to your personal beliefs, because they're very bipartisan, right? So 50% of the dollar is going to your personal belief, 100% of that dollar is going towards your profession.
Yep. And
Right.
that's why the minimal of $50 on their dues should always be included in it, because the bills we fight for. Now it's an interesting legislative session, because we have accomplishments, but we stopped. It's hard to say it, but we stopped a lot of bad things, you know, so.
Listen, you don't even, half the stuff that doesn't happen, no one gets credit. Like, it
Right.
truly is a thankless situation. And listen, I hold these associations to a high standard. I believe it could be much more well-run from top to bottom. But one of the things that they're the best at are the legislative part of this. You see, that is the biggest, I believe, win, the most value from it. Like, when
Well-
everyone wants to blow up the association,
Yes.
this is one of the things.
And when
not-
everyone doesn't want to give any money to RPAC, well, now we just stopped you from being sued on the SRPD. You know how
Exactly.
major that is? That is such a major. Landlords, we fought for you because the tenants had money in place. Like you said, businesses had money in place with PPP, and the landlords had nothing. Now they have an element. Then we did a division update where the division is getting a huge chunk of money to get out of the Stone Age.
So let's hold on for a second, because I see a lot of activity. What's going on? We good? Is the buzzing still going? We're still buzzing.
We're
Is this
buzzed.
the air conditioning?
We're buzzed. It's all right. We could say we're buzzed.
Here, let me see your thing.
It's okay.
I don't want a buzzing.
Well, you think it's not the mic. Don't
Oh.
touch me. So yeah,
So let's talk about the division.
okay.
Another group that gets not nearly enough funding, right? I mean, everyone, they love, and this is, again, you got to understand. Here's the thing. Everyone has a friggin' opinion, but no one wants to do the research, right? So it's easy to be like, why don't we police ourselves well? Well, poor Jan Holly and the group over there, they got no investigators, they got no one to help them, their budgets aren't enough. The people down at the division work their ass off, and they
With
don't.
the antiquated
Antiquated system.
So they gave a large chunk of money to upgrade all our computers. then we're paying a renewal fee a little higher every other year, and that money combined is gonna bring us to a place where we're like California or any other state that you could transfer online.
So let's talk about that. I've been a California realtor for almost 12 years. And I've been able to do all my CE, all my renewals, everything, never stepping foot. I mean, I'm in California all the time,
But never
stepping
going to a live class.
And let's also talk about the extra fees, because scarcity mindset, let's talk about this. Realtors will have scarcity mindset and go, I don't want to pay more, they don't do shit for me, blah, blah, blah. And this is why it's a scarcity mindset, and you got to change it to an abundant mindset. You are a company. You own a company if you're a realtor. This isn't an investment in your business. It's a cost of doing business. When we get a fraudulent lawsuit, or our water heater breaks in Summerlin and we gotta fix it, or something happens inevitably, that's the cost of doing business. You want things to be more expensive, not because you want to push people out, but people in their business, and they have to have a long-term play. And the long-term play is, if I spend more, the quality of the service return rises all tides. You can't, like, it's like marketing, which we've been talking about so much inside of my courses and at the company Urban Nest. Scared money doesn't make money. You have to spend money in marketing. So I know you glossed over it a little bit, but I know there's always a little pushback when, God forbid, people are raising fees on anything.
Well, there could be, and I'll take full blame, you know, being on the legislative chair. I pushed this, the division asked us for it, but I want to be able to do everything over the computer. I don't want to have.
Yeah, but that doesn't
to go on-
miraculously happen
It's gonna happen.
without something changing with the budget.
Of course,
right?
otherwise we're gonna be with broken computers. You remember, all of us wait on that line, right? We all wait on that line.
Yeah.
And you go in and they say, oh, you got this wrong. So then you have to go back on the line. Now, give us some time.
It is Stonehenge, for
It's
sure.
gonna be totally automated.
And it wins for everybody. There should be no reason you need to walk in.
And then for realtors, we got no tax added to us, no tax on services, nothing went through to change the way we're doing business or cost us any more money, which is the unintended consequence of what did you do?
Yeah.
It's what we stopped them from doing and what we did. So to me, it was a major, major win, and I'm proud of my year.
I mean, listen, there's very few servants, leader servants like you that put in the work and the time. And anyone who's like, you get a free dinner or you go on a trip. And
Well, we did it all on Zoom.
but I know, but even if they think that the cost, the actual cost lost of business and things you have to do, I think it's very hard to quantify, because it's a lot of work. And I lost my train of thought because you said something prior to that I wanted.
Well, I can only say when they ask what we do for, what that money does for you, that's what PAC money does for you. It gives you Rocky, Jenny, Carrera, the people that are respected in the building, protecting not only us, but the public.
Beautiful. So what, any other division or
No, that's
legislative updates? I mean,
Well, there's a lot of other things. They tried, Rocky called this the Dave Tina bill. They tried to make it that gas would have to be phased out of all new construction and existing homes. And I kept saying, how do you expect me to cook without gas? So he loves calling that. It failed. You know, I could go on and on and on of what failed. They were trying to do ridiculous bills with tenants, and it all failed. So
yeah, and
kudos to Carrera.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. You may not like lobbyists and you may not like the game, because sometimes there's a perception around it that is no good. And I'd get a little disheartened here and there in these rooms, but there was always a comment that would reverberate through, and it's not one of my most enjoyable ones, but it's the truth. And
I know what you're going to say.
and it's either you're at the table or you're on the menu.
Right.
And that's why you have to be in the game. You got to be in the deal flow. You know, you get the relationships. Like any relationship can be negative or it can be positive. You know, like if we have a relationship with a congresswoman or a senator or an attorney general or a governor, you know, it doesn't mean that it's a negative relationship, because political leaders don't understand every single issue perfectly, and their teams don't understand it. So they need people to educate them. So for instance, like you may be a liberal, but if or a Democrat, and if the Democrats don't have business leaders in their group, they're not going to understand business issues that well. You may be a conservative or a Republican, but if you don't understand a social issue, because then you see how it balances out. And I know I'm being just very general, but you need people to educate what's going on in the situation. And that's what your groups are doing.
And that being said, no one I spoke to, assembly person, anyone was a bad person. What they were maybe was uneducated on the topic we were talking about, because they don't do it. The same way if we spoke about a school bill, I would probably have no, but
so even during the pandemic, you know, you're talking about government officials trying to get information on how to handle the schools. I got to speak to the Clark County School District leaders. When they were talking about how do we handle open houses and things like that, you got to talk to the legislators. Because weren't you in some of those conversations?
I was, and we were very lucky that the governor and the governor's office listened to us.
And worked with you.
The Attorney General went on screen helping us, Aaron Ford, totally helping us. The governor helped us. No one backed off from the real estate industry. And California got open houses like 3 weeks ago, and I think we lost it for 2 months.
And listen, it's not always right answers. A leader gets all the information they can get. They boldly and confidently make a decision, and they live with the consequences rather than sit on the sidelines.
So now I'm going to pasture, I guess, right?
No, I'm sure there's plenty of.
There's plenty out there for me.
I joke, I'm only going back in those rooms as a consultant, right? So we'll see. All right, so we've taken care of legislative, we've taken care of division. We've both been on some arbitration cases. We're both on professional standards. Now, again, we're gonna stay with this theme. We're a self-policing organization, which is the most interesting thing, from the National Association of Realtors to the state to the local. And the way it works is an agent will be selected by a president to go into grievance. The grievance committee will basically vet any issues between realtor to realtor. Same thing with the division. It's realtor usually versus public, right? And what'll happen is it'll go to either a division hearing with the commissioners, if it's realtor versus public, or it'll come to a local association, realtor versus realtor. And that's where we're on arbitration, or excuse me, professional standards, where you get to see what's going on in the world. So very interesting stuff.
Yeah. It's all great for us as broker owners, because we get to see what people do right, wrong, or how it could be misinterpreted, and you use them all as learning moments.
Mine's off completely now.
I think that, she has a mic there.
Oh.
I think that intent is the whole secret of everything in life, whether it be division or anyone else. Intent. If you made a mistake, but you didn't intend to,
Yeah, I mean,
if you made a mistake and you did it unfairly and benefiting you, it could jeopardize your license.
I think intent is everything in life.
And not only in that, in everything.
In everything. I mean, yours may be on now. I think mine was the issue.
You're the problem.
I'm the problem. I mean, I've had this on for 3 hours.
As usual.
3 hours, because I'm actually doing the work over here at Kimasabi.
Well, I don't
so-
have it from.
What?
We're on the boom.
Or on the boom.
Yeah.
Boom. Beautiful. So, some arbitration cases recently, basically, it's like common sense. So, all right, let's jump into market. I did a market update that's going to be going out to everybody. We're going to be blasting it out, that you could all feel free to use our content. We want to add value to the marketplace, regardless if you're with Urban Nest or not. It's part of the reason why we do the Dave and Dave, right? we're hopefully adding value in a leadership role. Why we volunteered so often, right? So, we don't know, we're towards the end of June already, like we got about a week left. Median price was $385,000 end of May. Beginning of the year was $345,000. It's almost a 12% increase, over 20-something% increase year over year. So I've been having this conversation about peak versus plateau, right? And my answer is, who cares? You know what I mean? Who cares? You know, and we get this kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Unfortunate stereotype as realtors, where we say it's always a good time to buy, it's always a good time to sell. And I believe that is the truth. Let me give you a new context. The new context is action. If you're doing an action, so of course it's always a good time. That's why it's always a good time to be a realtor. It's always a good time to be a business leader. It's always a good time to be an athlete if you're in the deal. So for instance, we could always say this. So if you're a buyer, why is it a great time to buy?
Interest rates are lowest than they've been in 50 years.
All right, so let me give you an example. A great friend of mine calls me yesterday. I stood in his wedding twice, right? And he says to me, you like that? You like that?
For those of you who know, it was first and second one.
First and second. But one of my closest friends, and he's renting right now, and he said, should I buy right now? And I said, here's the deal. What's your gut? And his gut is going to be a little bit of a plateau. He doesn't think it's going to be. And I said, here's the thing, buddy. We're aligned. I think you don't have the benefit of selling on the high, so you're not getting that win because he's not in the game, but you're going to have to buy on the high. And I said, I don't think we're going to be looking at a big correction anytime soon, but maybe as the market opens up a little bit, because we're seeing a little bit of rising of inventory.
Right.
Is the market still insane? Absolutely. But you're going to have more options. So I said, rather than having a gun to your head, and you have to just choose any house, you may have more choice in a couple of months. Why don't we see, we both agreed, because you're a consultant. And buyers, if you're intelligent, or you're locked, not that you're intelligent, but you're like kind of dialed in on the game, his gut and my gut were aligned. Me being an expert, him being my friend, me wanting to protect him. I said, why don't we give it July and August, see if there's an opening up, the rates are still amazing, and then we'll keep an eye on things as we go, and off we go. Now, if he was listing something,
then it's all.
then I'd be like, we gotta go right now, right? So this is kind of the minutia and the nuance of the conversation, like getting deeper, rather than just giving you a blanket, it's a great time to sell, it's a great time to buy, right?
Well, I think that's being more of a consultant than somebody that's just doing what you did, which was a great enactment, by the way. I liked your great.
And my realtors say, all realtors, they market the same.
Yes. But here's the good news. Inventory is increasing every week on single family.
But again, let's not let you take this, because we're always careful with our own agents. We don't want them to go out and say, the market, the sky's falling. No, give them context. You went from a half a month to like three-quarters of a month.
Yeah, it went from 1950 single family homes to like 2650. But it's still 700 more homes. So,
but we're selling 4,000 homes a month, which gives you about a 20-day supply, 30-day supply.
Right. So a better, instead of being 15 offers, there may be 5. And I spoke to agents that put the houses on the market, and they're not getting, I mean, in the crazies, they were getting 32 offers.
Well, I think if you still have a nice hot house, I mean, if you're in Red Rock and there's 8 listings there.
7.
Holy shit. I mean, then you can, but even that doesn't mean you can just put your house up.
Some of them expired because they were so ridiculously priced and outdated and not redone.
But you gotta, I always say, read the room. Right?
Read the room is
understand where you're at. And then sellers, you're up 12% this year, you're up 20% year over year. But then the comments had another friend reach out to me, and he says, I got a lot of friends. And I'm fortunate that they respect me and they know I'm dialed in. And they go, my wife doesn't want to sell. I want to sell because we have so much equity and I think it's going to correct. So he has a different opinion, right? Which a lot of people have this opinion.
I'll only say this. A, it depends where you sit. And B, the last time we had the huge drop, the mortgage industry was giving loans to people that were ridiculous. That is not the case
Do you want to hear my answer to him? Before
Well,
you cut
go ahead. What's your answer?
I said it depends on when you'd want to rent, because you may spend a lot of money to rent, and when you buy back in, you're gonna have to be betting on the fact that it lost enough, right? You took your money
To
off the right
compensate for, yeah.
and the interest rates didn't rise too high. So when my buddy who wants to buy and get in the game, I had the same conversation with him as I had with the buddy who's thinking about selling. But did you ever hear me say, I'm putting my interest first and let me just get a commission?
No.
No, because I'm playing the long game and I'm taking care of my people. The business is gonna come, but we're having high level conversations. So I said, if you don't like your house, or you want a pool, or you want a bigger house,
yeah.
or you want a smaller house, or you're being relocated, then let's list it
No
and
answer.
find something
No
else.
answer, but do it now.
Exactly. What a great opportunity, right? Because some people are downsizing.
Or
So-
upsize it.
You know, if you have a compelling reason, you're just
Yeah, but
bored.
two-story, you don't want a one-story. It backs a golf course and now you want a wall. I could
Exactly.
give you 100 reasons, but they're all valid. The trick of it is stop, especially if it's your primary. I'm not in love with the house I am and I wanna be in love with the new one. That's a valid
It's
reason.
great. It's a great opportunity.
Yep.
And
The interest rates that go for 30 years well, I don't think they'll ever be the same. We'll talk about this.
so I'll talk about third friend.
Oh, a third friend.
You ready? So third friend has a house on Red Arrow,
Amigos.
right?
Yes.
And they love Red Arrow is a gorgeous street,
In Red
and
Arrow.
they want to do a renovation. Well, because of lumber prices and construction prices and supply chain issues, right? The cost of doing this and the length of time it will take are both rising. Higher cost, longer
Then
time.
you have to say, is it worth doing
Is
it?
the juice worth the squeeze?
Right.
So then they're saying, well, we want to live here. So their choices are pretty much do nothing, wait it out, and do the renovation when things relax a little bit. Because listen, the lumber issues and whatever, that isn't
That's
necessarily inflation. Excuse me, it's not inflation.
Right. But
Some
that's
things are
dropping.
inflation.
That's
Yeah, it's supply chain. A lot of this stuff is supply chain, right? You know, are used cars really going up in value, or there's just not enough of them, right? So they're at this point. Do I stay? Do I wait? Or do I look and find a better situation? A better motivation to do something. Really can't lose if you're disciplined, intelligent, diligent, right? These are some of the things. So these are three issues I think that we're covering. A seller that's debating about selling to take equity off the table, a buyer that's looking to get in the game and is renting, and a potential buyer and seller who wants to renovate but may not have as many options as they would like.
The third one's the scariest because if you over renovate or pay too much to renovate, it's going there's a shot that they won't get the return on the renovation.
There's a shot. It's not just that. It's also, you know,
Yeah, living with it.
I'm talking about high-end clientele here, and it's inconvenience, and there's a cost for
Oh, yeah.
for
Moving
quality
out of the
life,
house,
yeah.
inconvenience of living with construction people, you're drinking your coffee and they're sitting next to
I
you.
mean, where do you live? How many
Right.
months do you got to be in a rental? That's part of the cost that gets played in. And so there's again no right answer, but as long as I think the game is options, information, and consultation, and just knowing what my options are. So what I ended up giving to one buddy, I had Angie send him some comps of where they're at, some stuff closing, and then they can make the decision. But I wasn't like salesy, seedy friend realtor guy saying, you gotta sell right now so I can get 2 commissions. And I think people play the short game way too much.
Well, you know my theory and it's been 44
Here we
years.
go with Antona.
That's it. If I will give my sister that advice that I love dearly, then I'm gonna give you the same advice. And if I was wrong or did it, it was out of love, not out of greed. So,
his Aunt Donna advice, his sister Donna, my Aunt Donna, as someone he loves dearly, right? So if Aunt Donna was buying and selling a home, we would protect her at the highest level. You need to treat everybody like Aunt Donna. Hashtag Aunt Donna, right?
You got it.
You got it.
You got
So, all right, we've covered a lot. We've had some issues. We had some technical issues, but hey, we're in the game, baby.
I'm gonna get an Actors Guild card. I wanna go on to
Listen,
professional.
you drove to the wrong place, had us late. I mean, you're a disaster. All right, new thing, guys. Make sure if you want to see all the Dave and Daves that we've done in the past, we've finally gotten around. We're putting them on YouTube. So subscribe on YouTube to Urban Nest Realty. Also subscribe to Dave Tina, and all of our content, tons of it, is going to be there. It's like a masterclass on just how to be a realtor, how to market, what's going on in the world. You can go back to maybe 3 years ago and watch a video, and we're talking about a $250,000 median price. And you want to be educated. If you're a consumer, if you're a seller, or you're a buyer, or you're an agent, and you like your company, but you still want to get our information, subscribe to those, you get the updates, hit the bell so you know when we're coming. And that's it for today. Any takeaways?
I want to know how to get my acting card. I want to be able to go to the
With the SAG-AFTRA?
Yeah, I want to go to the Academy Awards and sit there and get a SAG card. So
Yeah.
that's your new job.
You know what you are?
What?
The best supporting actor in a non-supporting role. Okay? So I'll leave it at that. You like that? You like that?
Well, I could laugh, but I see myself
Yes,
as more
non-supporting
like
role.
a Tom Cruise.
Yeah, you don't read the script.
Sean-
You don't dress
Sean
up for it.
Connery.
You just show up
Sean Connery.
and you
Who else?
disrupt the whole friggin' process.
Isn't that my job?
Yeah, it sure is. You know what I said? I said, the Dave and Dave for me has become a legacy play.
Really?
Yeah, because, a lot of this, listen, a true coach and a leader is just basically giving you the same information and packaging it differently over and over again to remind yourself and remember why you should be doing what you're doing and whatnot. So a lot of our content sometimes is stories, and I'm giving you examples of what's going on, but the message is going to be similar every time. It should be. You should be having a consistent message. But, sometimes you drive me insane. We have a great relationship. I believe part of the beauty of this thing is us, right? Bantering and you
Like
being...
you should kiss the head.
Exactly, right? So I started thinking, at one point, I was like, I don't know how many more Dave and Dave I'm going to do. And I said to myself, you know what the beauty of this thing is? We have a documented series now of a legacy of our relationship. So,
And you've told a lot of stories.
so have you. But one day, you're not going to be here anymore.
Uh-oh. You may not be here.
I may not be here either.
Yeah.
So think about Gianna.
Just
Gianna,
because I turned 59 doesn't mean you should say that.
let's just say 20 years from now.
Yes.
Let's say it's Ella, my 9-year-old's kids, doesn't know you, your great-grandparents. They're your
Wow, you could watch me
great-grandfather.
on video.
They could see their father as their grandfather now, because I'd be a grandfather, as a 40-something-year-old man. Their great-grandfather that they may not know. And even when I get older, and if you're not here, because I'm going to miss you like hell when that happens, this is a legacy play. We have a documented hundreds of hours of video of me and you. Isn't that a great frame on
That
it?
is. So I should tell them then what to do on these videos.
Hopefully that's what you're already doing.
No, not the agents, my granddaughter.
Hopefully that's what you should be telling them. It's the same
Don't
fundamentals.
trust that boy. Don't listen.
That's all we got for you today. That's my takeaway of the legacy. Go out there, create some content, be a leader, get involved, go sell some houses, take care of your people. We'll see you on the other side. Take care.